So I've been hired to film a documentary, and right now the guy I am filming is upstairs warming up. It's an esports documentary, but for today's setup on the interview, this is kind of the base of what I'm starting with. So this is pretty much what the scene is going to look like. Now I am going to use my 600X with the lantern and just shoot it that way. I'm going to put the wrap around the lantern to keep from the spill and just light him from one side, and then I might neg one side, create that little shadow. I'm going to use this as my hair light motivator, I believe, if I decide to do one. But yeah, this should be a pretty simple setup. I am starting to learn less is more. Setting up for interviews has quickly become one of my favorite things to do in filmmaking. This is for a Call of Duty legend named Eclipse. If you're in esports at all or in Call of Duty at all, you know exactly who this is. So when I was presented with the opportunity to film this interview for a larger documentary, it was a resounding yes. So this is what I have so far. I did the lantern here, and I did it to where it'd create that Rembrandt lighting on his face. Put the skirt on there. Again, I don't want a bunch of spill hitting out over here because I'm having to expose for this window already. I'm using this as the practical, and then I'm using my 60X with the hyper reflector to go ahead and create this hair light. I went ahead and added it. It looks great in my opinion. And then you get the contrast of like the cool from the outside and then the warm coming from the kitchen. One thing I'm learning is less is more. So I was trying to put my aperture MCs up here. These are actually, they come off. They're magnetic. And so I was gonna try to put my MCs up there and create like this like light bar or something to go behind his head. It didn't work. It just looked weird. One, the light sources are too small, so it's just like you see squares. It's just too much. It's like you have like this light source coming from this way, and then you have like this right here. I think the last thing I'm gonna do is maybe get my 200X and then just kind of shoot it at the roof to brighten this kitchen area up just a little bit more. So this is the final look. Here's the 600X as my key with the lantern. Here's the 200X just kind of filling the back. And then here's the 60X as my hair light. Personally, I think it looks great. I think all the light is properly motivated. And this is what it looked like when Clayster was actually on set. He was in a little bit later in the evening, which actually worked out. That window wasn't so bright in the back. And I think that the colors came out phenomenal.
All that adversity that I've had to face throughout my entire career has been...
So I get asked kind of often how to get into esports or how I got into esports. And the short story of that is just basically by accident. I had always wanted to do esports around like 4 or 5 years ago, and through just a couple different odd connections here and there, it landed me a job at Space Station Gaming, which I've talked about numerous times. The problem with esports is that there's not a ton of money in it. In fact, even this shoot right here did not pay close to my day rate or anything, but it was such a cool opportunity for me to be able to shoot for Clayster and to be able to add this new interview setup to my portfolio that it was kind of good and valuable for me. But all in all, the esports stuff is very difficult to get. There's not a ton of money in esports for the orgs, therefore they cannot pay a ton for content. So you have to be able to kind of find a rhythm within esports and just like regular work outside of esports. I'm willing to take a pay cut on esports because it's what I'm passionate about, and I use the other jobs around that to kind of keep me afloat financially so that when an esports opportunity does come up, even if it's not paying my day rate or whatever, I can take it and I don't feel like I'm hurting myself. So the best thing I could say is just show up to events, try to do as much work as you can while you're there. Most events will allow cameras in. Take photos, take video, start tagging players, start tagging these orgs and org owners and stuff, and try to get yourself on the map that way.
Good comms in this shit. Make sure we're giving effort comms in this search. Like Brian said the other day, it falls off mid-search whenever we lose momentum. So make sure we're giving full respawn effort comms right here.
This is one big reason that I love the FX6, because it has the picture cache recording. So basically it's pre-rolling for 10 to 30 seconds, depending on whatever I decide it to be. I usually have it set to 10 seconds, but stuff like this, whenever they are just playing a whole match and I really am just looking for certain sound bites, I'm looking for reactions, I'm looking for things like that. It's nice to be able to just sit there, hold my angle, the reaction happens, then I hit record and I have the footage. It saves a lot of time for the editor. They're not having to sift through tons and tons of 2 to 3 minute clips just to see if there's a reaction in there or something that they're wanting. But it is one of the reasons I picked the FX6 for esports and event work, because that picture cache recording just saves me so much headache. So shout out Shostin and Breaking Point for having me out for this. If you want to see the full documentary, it is done. Shostin did an amazing job on the editing, following this guy around, telling his story and everything. I will leave a link to that in the description below. Make sure you go support him, support the video, tell him I sent you. Thanks for watching.